Hello again, everyone. It's Vince, and this is our update for February 23rd, 2026. Well, an interesting start to the week, fully in the red here. The Dow down 790 points. A lot of this has to do, well, we're speculating, but seems to be the only real news out there. The talks about the tariffs recently. On Friday, the Supreme Court said they were illegal. Trump came out immediately afterwards and said, not only are we going to keep those in place, but we're going to add another 10% globally. And then over the weekend, he said, no, you know what? Forget 10%. We're going to do 15. So anyway, we started in the red today, right from the start, and dropped. Spent the whole morning dropping Dow, Nasdaq, S&P, Russell, and then afternoon session was more or less flat, but the damage was done. The S&P down 67, the Nasdaq down 287, and the Russell down 38. If we look at crude oil, down 18 cents on the day off the high. Gold had a great day, up 166, and silver up 558. The metals doing quite well. Bond yields pulled back. The dollar pulled back slightly, although is well off its lows. And the VIX finishing the day at 2102 here, up a buck 94. And on the crypto side of things, Bitcoin down 2,900, while Ethereum finished the day down about 92 points here. So let's have a look at at the economic calendar. Not a whole lot. Fed Chair Waller came out and spoke, and he certainly didn't help. He said they may have to pause rates and keep them as is, since inflation seems to be sticky or remain sticky. So if we look at the Fed Watch tool, at the next meeting, March 18th, there's a 96% chance right now that rates hold steady or remain where they are. So that's what the market is looking at here. A little disappointed with that. The market is. Earnings calendar, we had Domino's and AMC this morning. After market close today, Hims and Hers and KTOS, BWXT. Let's go look at a few of those. Hims and Hers. Let's see if they're out. Well, I'm not even sure they're out yet. Things are pretty calm, pretty quiet here. Yeah, I don't see any numbers yet. BWXT. Let's see, what are those? Ooh, that's a nice pop there after hours, almost 6%. So we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow morning. And KTOS, down another buck 62. It was down 177 in this regular session, down 162. So I'm assuming those are out as well. Anyway, lots more to come on the earnings front tomorrow morning before market open. Home Depot, CEG, AMT, etc. Melly after hours. What else here? HPQ, Cava for solar. So, I mean, not huge names, but on Wednesday, we do get some bigger names. NVIDIA, Duo, Salesforce, Zoom. And so it's still pretty active. Anyway, now let's get to a few charts that I want to share with you. There are a number of setups today. I mean, whenever things are a little more active, you're going to get more. I sort of have a split here between longs and shorts, a few extra on the long side, but these four were my favorite of the day. Now, full disclosure, I had an appointment. That's why I had to leave the chat by 2 p.m. Eastern today, and we couldn't go a little over that. So I did not make it back in time to open any positions before market close. So some of these I'll be watching tomorrow morning, but let's have a look at the charts here. So on the long side, I think it was Sandy that brought this up near the end of the session. The Hershey company, HSY, has a nice long plus setup here. Pretty strong candle, especially considering the type of day it was. And if you look at the weekly, looking pretty good. We blew through this key level here. and we've been, just kind of, pulling back a little, but not much. I mean, after that big move, we've replaced less than half of that and started moving forward again. And there it is on the monthly. So a long plus on daily and monthly so far. Obviously, the monthly bar has not closed yet, but I like this one. And earnings are only 59, or well, I should say only, are still 59 days out. So plenty of time there. The other one to the long side I really like is Johnson and Johnson, J&J. I mean, look how clean this chart is. This is the daily chart. Here's the weekly and the monthly. So it has been trending strongly. But remember, we had this pause here, this bit of consolidation that went on for a little while. And it recently broke out here about 3 months ago and has really been running. I don't think it's gone as far as it could yet, according to this, if we measure this channel. So I think there's a bit more to go here. And this is a nice clean setup. I really like Johnson and Johnson here. Also to the long side, Sherwin-Williams, SHW here. Now, not my favorite. If you look at the chart, not as clean. Looks like a lot of volatility here on the daily, but there's that long setup. Here it is on the weekly. What I do like and what I'm planning to keep an eye out for is a break out of this mess here. So, I'm going to actually take a new trend line and try to cross these highs here. So if we get a breakout above here, then I might be a lot more excited about this. The main reason why I'm not is the mess that I see on the daily, really. That's really the answer. But if we get above this prior high here, then I think that might be worth a second look. Apple looks good as well. We also have a long setup, but we're below this point of control. There's a bit more overhead resistance here. So I'd like to see it clear that. So this is going to go on a watch list. The other thing I like, which I mentioned during the chat today, is that normally when you get a complete 180 reversal like this, you get a bigger bar than usual, and then it completely turns around like it does. Normally you'd get follow through, and then an accelerated move. Normally you see this pattern either at highs or at lows. So there was concern here, especially since we put in a lower high pivot, that Apple might start to sell off. But we never did trigger never did trade below the low of this reversal candle right here. And so we've had a couple of days of bounce, but there's still some overhead resistance. So I'm not overly convinced yet that this is in the clear. So I want to see a bit more upside here on Apple. And then we have Biogen, BIIB, which, if you can recall a while ago on Biogen, on the monthly, we played this move lower here. Once we entered this area where there was a lot less support here. Now, we've turned around and, it's been a nice move off the lows. I mean, the lows were near 110. We're at 196. This has already made a pretty good move. The only problem now is that now we have all of this overhead. So this is what concerns me. But the move is pretty clean. You can see on the weekly, we've definitely turned the corner here and started moving higher. We have this nice little flag pattern happening on the weekly, and on the daily, we've got this nice move here after, moving above these prior highs, coming back, holding that same level once, holding it again. Now, one red flag, lower highs here, but this does look very clean. It's a long plus. If it could move above the February 17th high, which is 229 cents. So, also topping that nice round 200 number, I think that would look even better. Again, I'm a little concerned about all this activity that's going to be overhead, but this one does seem to have turned the corner and maybe at least worth a move to a watch list to keep an eye on. Now, a few to the short side, UNH. here. Looking like a nice short right here. I mean, we we certainly had another big gap down on earnings. If you can recall, this all started with a huge move down many months ago and had tried to rally and then started to fall apart again. And we had marked this key level right around 280 or so. And now we're moving below it and we've got a short setup at the same time. Here it is on the weekly. All right. There looks to be still some support nearby. But then we enter again an area where there's a lot less support. So I'm not sure this is done. I mean, the safe play here, the safest play would be to wait for a move below this low on the monthly around the 235 area, right? But I mean, this one has really been weak, and I don't know, it may be worth a small play here. I kind of like this setup here. Having said that, not my favorite. There's a couple that are even cleaner here. Netflix, which has really fallen off a cliff here since screaming to those highs. And we've had a number of short setups here that have worked, every single one being profitable. Now we've got another one here. And if we look at the weekly, it looks like we've got room down to about 70 or so here before we hit a bit of support. But this is the question. How much support is there here? It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot. So at first glance, we're at 76. We could run into support at 70. It looks like a 6-point move. Doesn't look like much. But if it continues, and especially if we look at it on the monthly, I think where there might be even more support is here, where we get a series of highs here. There's this bit of this cluster here. Now that would take us below 60. So when we're talking about 76 to below 60, now we've got something a little more decent to play with. And it's so clean. There seems to be so much selling to the downside here that it looks pretty good. And another one is MSTR. Now we've talked about this over the last little while. Obviously, this has been falling apart ever since Bitcoin fell off those highs. But we had come into this key level of support, bounced around here for a while, then recently broke. Tried to rally and failed. Tried again and is failing. And now today, we've got a nice short plus set up here. When we look at the weekly on this one, look at where we are, right at the lows of this range. So we've cut through there. And it looks like, again, there's a nice little open area here, nice gap in support, which takes us down to about 35. We're still at 123. So I think there's a lot of potential downside to come here. So those are it. There's a number of ideas here. Remember, these are not recommendations. They are just examples of the types of trades that I'm looking at. A few of these, the ones in white, will be going on a watch list, and these I will see how they open and make my call at that point. But there's some nice setups here. Now, I would expect the volatility overall to continue in these markets. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. We spoke about a few things in the chat today that were concerning. If you if you didn't get a chance to join us live, please go back and watch the recording. Lots of good info there. And aside from that, I'll be back with another update tomorrow after market close, and then we'll get together again on Wednesday morning for another live market chat. But until then, I hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you on our next update. Take care.